Welcome to the Next Dimension Podcast, your portal to an extended reality. Every week we talk about the hottest topics in XR and let you join the discussion live on MRTV. And now, get ready for another exciting episode coming up.
Okay, good. I think that's enough for the non-VR talk now. And I think we can get into virtual reality. So, last week we did not have a show because of Christmas. It was Boxing Day, and so we thought like, okay, we're not going to make a show, but so we're back. And we missed one big topic, and the big topic last week would have been the Microsoft Flight Simulator is now ready for virtual reality, and it happened like I think on 22nd or 23rd of December, like it was an early Christmas present for the simming community. And yeah, so how is it? How is it, dear Steve?
Oh, that's just it's a massive question to ask, and I really need to make sure that I don't spend too long answering that one. So just tell me to shut up if I go, if I just talk too much. But I won't anyway.
I'm going to interrupt you with funny questions.
Please do. Always do that. But, I mean, really, I just thought, how am I going to answer this? Because I knew you'd ask me, and I thought, well, I suppose I can sort of pin it down to three kind of points really that I can really briefly just go over. Otherwise, as I say, I'll be talking too much. But I just want to talk about the core VR experience. What is it like when you put that headset on and you're in that plane? What is it like? And I was trying to think of a way to describe it, and I actually said this in one of my videos, like, how can I describe it? And I think best way I can say is it's brain tricking real, honestly.
Wow.
At times.
Okay.
It's I've obviously done a lot of flight simming. I'm such a geeky flight simmer. I've done it for years and years, and I've done VR flying sort of sims for about 4 years now. And this experience is the best that I've ever come across, without a doubt, for its core VR implementation. And I think I was trying to think, what is it about this?
Is it better than sex?
Not quite, but it's close. It's close.
Okay.
Maybe not, actually, no.
Sex could have so many levels of quality, though. Like,
yeah,
exactly.
You're right.
But bad sex can be kind of lame.
Bad sex can be terrible. Exactly. I mean, like super bad. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you've totally lost my plot now. You said that. But if you compare it to other sims out there, I think what it is that makes it so realistic, it's the lighting engine, and the sort of, dare I call it, next generation sort of graphics interface, and the way that they put together the atmosphere, the weather, when you're flying through the clouds and you sort of in that environment, that whole atmosphere together in VR, it's just amazing. It really is. It's incredible. And it's funny because I've been quite lucky even during lockdown. We've had a few breaks where I've actually done some real flying recently, and I flew in a Cessna 172 over Lady Bower and all around Derbyshire, which is sort of my local area. And I thought, I'm going to I literally got back home that evening and I'm going to try this again in the sim. And this sounds crazy, right? I know it sounds crazy, but I actually, at one point, how memories can be so powerful that you can smell certain things. You actually get that sense of smelling where you were during that memory. I actually could smell the aircraft, the leather seat. It suddenly came up and I thought, oh my God, I'm sure I just smelt the aircraft then, because it was that real. I could look around in the G2, seeing all of that sort of the seats and everything in the panel. And I just thought, oh my God, I'm actually here. For a second, I was like, wow, and that's what VR is all about, isn't it, really?
Wow. Wow, that's crazy, man. That's really good.
Yeah, it's so cool. So, I mean, from that standpoint, it is ridiculously immersive. It really is. But there's a lot of bad things as well. It's not all good.
Okay, let's first of all focus on the good things first, and let's get to the bad points later. So first of all, you are flying yourself in real life?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm not a pilot, although I'm very lucky. I've got a few friends who fly, and they let me fly the aircraft. And I am sort of thinking about doing, a bit of actual do the training because it would be cool to do it. But yeah, I've landed a few Cessnas with, with obviously my pilot friend in, checking, making sure I'm doing it right. Otherwise, if you grab the controls,
you landed a Cessna. Well, man, that's amazing. But you don't have the license actually.
No.
Wow, that is cool, man. I like it.
Yeah, it's cool. So it kind of gives me an idea of sort of what it should feel like. I'm certainly no pilot, so I'm not. I'll never profess to be. There's a lot of more knowledgeable people out there in terms of sort of how the physics of flying all work and everything. But in terms of how it felt, and doing that flight back to back, I think was the real turning point for me. That I thought, you know what, they've nailed this in terms of sort of how it feels. Yeah, it's just insane. It's amazing. Wow. Honestly, it really is. I think, if I'm honest, I think the Reverb G2 helped as well, because the audio on that thing is just incredible, and obviously with the visual clarity you get from it, it really just put you there like nothing else. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's fantastic. Cool. That sounds so great. And so tell us, how is it compared to the other flight sims, to X-Plane 11 or to Aerofly FS2?
Well, to be honest, if someone came up to me and said, I want to get into flight sims and I don't really know much about it, I wouldn't recommend Microsoft Flight Sim. I'd actually recommend Aerofly FS2, because that sim in VR is so good on performance. It's so smooth. You just basically, you don't have to mess around with anything. You get straight into the cockpit and you're just flying, and it's really easy to get going. I would consider like X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Simulator as the heavyweights. You have to spend time setting it up. And, I was actually thinking of Tony during all the tweaking I've been doing, and I was thinking, you would hate this. You would absolutely just hate this. And I totally get it. A lot of people are going to have such a frustrating time with it, because, you cannot just install it, buy a VR headset from Argos or wherever you go, Best Buy, go, right, I'm going to put this on and try it. If you did that, you'd probably be really disappointed, and you'd probably feel a bit sick because the frame rate won't be very good. So for that, I think some of the other sims are still really relevant. The Aerofly FS2, that runs at a solid, you can get 90 frames per second in that sim. And you can certainly get 60 frames per second. And it's so smooth that, there is definitely a calling for other sims to still exist. It's not like this has completely swamped the market and it's just going to be the only sim to use from now on. I think, I think it has its place. But the other sims, like X-Plane 11 as well, I think, which does VR better in terms of the motion controls, which I'll talk about in a minute, does it better. So it's not a complete washout. It's the best thing, and that's it. Job done. Okay. Kind of thing.
Okay. But talking about getting into the game, like I checked it for a moment. I didn't spend enough time, so I just looked.
If you tried it,
I just looked into it. And what I saw, there seemed to be quite a lot of tutorials, like where you, as a total beginner, it would kind of teach you a bit, right? For the Microsoft,
honest, I haven't looked at that.
Okay,
honest, which is really bad. But I think they have got a tutorial section how to fly the Cessna, and they're making that better. And I think that's really important for any newcomers. Yeah,
exactly. Totally. Yeah, exactly. And what you just said before, like how tough it is to get into it. I think it's so true. Like also for X-Plane 11, if you put it on and then you start to play, you just start to play, and then you have like the G2 or another headset, or probably the G2. Yeah, it wouldn't click first. I couldn't use it in VR because my controller, it would not accept the click.
Yeah,
right?
Well,
it's like
that's
what?
Just it.
There's
just
no
motion controller support at all.
Yeah, but in X-Plane 11, I was talking about X-Plane 11 now.
Sorry, yeah. The thing is with that is that actually at the moment it's Laminar need to do an update to get the Reverb G2 controllers compatible. Right. All of the controllers, they work really well in that sim, and I've got to say, X-Plane 11 for its VR sort of implementation is stellar.
Okay.
Because you've got the controller and you can use it. Unfortunately, at the moment, the G2 controllers, they're not compatible, but hopefully any day now, Laminar are they're aware of it needs fixing.
They need to do that. They absolutely need to do that.
Dragging their heels on it, if I'm honest, but hopefully it'll be sorted very soon.
Okay. Yeah, so let's talk a bit more about Microsoft Flight Simulator. So what is good? So the graphics are good, you said, right? And like what else? Like the realism, if you fly above.
Yeah.
You fly around London, and you
Oh
can
my
totally see
God,
everything. Or I can fly to my home and see it. I can see the MRTV headquarters if I fly around
Yeah,
Dortmund.
sure thing.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want to just get hung up on just graphics, because it's not really just about the eye candy, even though it's incredible. It's just how it's implemented in the sim. I have longed for the day where I could fly, and over there's a huge, scary thunderstorm that I've got to, fly around. And over here, it's beautiful and clear. And if I go through that thunderstorm, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to have ice all over the windshield, and I'm going to, and to see that towering sort of weather system move across the sky in real time all across the world.
Wow.
I just think it's absolutely amazing. And then on top of that, you've got the terrain, which is the entire planet ortho imagery. So when you go on Google Maps or whatever, it's that level of detail down to about, I think, in terms of the zoom level, I think it's like zoom level 21 or 22, which basically means it's sort of incredibly crisp. You'll be able to see the car that was parked outside your house when that photograph was taken, even the color of it and everything, all over the world. I just think, and it's free. There's no subscription, and all this data is being, updated on a regular basis, and it's just £60. I just think that's incredible, isn't it?
That's really good.
We've got to a point now where we should be realizing, like, this is revolutionary, just in terms of how all this comes together. And then the flight model as well. People complain about the flight model, but at the moment, the default aircraft that come with it they're just a starting point. They really are just a starting point. When we get payware quality aircraft, which, by the way, for you guys, you might not know, but aircraft themselves can be up to £100 or more just to buy for the sim, but you're talking of absolute comprehensive, really study level aircraft that every switch, every knob, every procedure is modeled to the exact that you would expect in the real aircraft. That will come eventually, and this sim is just the foundation of what's to come in the future. And it's just, oh God, honestly, it's
you seem to be very happy about it.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah, I spent 50 hours flying it just in the beta, and I've literally flown every day since it's been released. It's just, it's an incredible experience. I think we're very lucky to be alive during this sort of revolution of VR and flying. Honestly, it's brilliant.
Yeah, but what do you do? From where to where do you fly normally?
Well,
yeah.
I think this is a good thing, actually, because it's a good point. I think most people, once they've flown over their own house and they've done maybe a few tours, they'll be like, what do I do next? And it's for us flight simmers, we are quite happy doing the same routes, and every time, every flight is different. You'll have different weather. The artificial intelligence traffic, which is real traffic fed into the sim, is different every time as well. So you're going to get a 747 landing. Well, you won't anymore, actually. It's a bad example because they don't fly anymore.
Sorry, man. I just have to say thank you. Thank you so much to Eliza Ang, to my wife, who has just donated me 30 euros for beers. Woohoo! Thank you. Thank you, my darling. Yeah, that's why I married her. Now you know. She's the best wife ever. Thank you so much. And I know it's also for you, Eliza. I know we're going to drink those beers together.
So cool, right, Melissa? I know you're watching this. Could you just donate 20 quid?
Yeah, he also needs some beer. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, man. I totally disturbed. I totally stopped you.
You need to stop me on this because I will literally just go off on one. So you need to stop, just so I can calm down again, because it's just so good. I'm honestly so passionate about it. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey,
and
Steve.
thank you for 4 sec shark for €5. Love this enthusiasm. Yes, man. Thank you. More beers.
Appreciate it. He's a big supporter of my channel as well, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Steve, I was going to ask you, so which graphics card do you have, and like which HOTAS and stuff, or like what is all the equipment that you're using with this?
Great question.
Yeah, good question actually. I'm only using a 1080 Ti card. So, and it's like the smallest little card you've ever seen in your life. It's like, I think it's the Zotac Mini series, and it's got its tongue out. It's really working hard. But I've been tearing my hair out this last few weeks trying to get the optimum setting, and there's so many different ways you can angle this in terms of performance. And this sim is a nightmare on performance. It really is. It's a beast of a sim. and it's meant to last for the next 10 years. And I think people need to realize that you can't just push all those settings to ultra and then not everything will work. It won't. It'll be 10 frames per second and you'll just hate it. It'll be horrible. I guess, see it as it's going to be a fine wine. It's going to age and get better and better.
Just like us.
Yeah. Too right, yeah. But so it's one of those things that it needs tweaking. You're going to have to lower those graphics sliders because they're gonna hurt otherwise, you know.
But it's still beautiful. But it's still beautiful with your 1080 Ti and your G2. It's still beautiful.
I always say this, right? Basically, if you run this sim on ultra with a monitor, a screen, it will look great. But if you run this sim on low to medium, but you're in VR, it will look way better than it would do on a monitor at ultra, if that makes sense, you know, because you're inside the environment. You are there, you know, inside the cockpit, and you're actually, when you're looking at Mont Blanc or Mount Everest, it's like, oh my God, it's exactly the 1-to-1 scale that the real thing would be. And it's just, you're not thinking, oh, my graphics sliders are a little bit low. You're thinking, oh my God, I'm right here next to this mountain, you know.
You're right.
What about the CPU? Is it CPU intensive? Like if somebody has kind of a weak sauce CPU, would they kind of need like one of the absolute best CPUs?
This sim demands the best hardware, full stop, to be honest. And I always say, and this is quite frustrating, I think there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of their performance. I think VR has really shown actually the cracks and the holes within the performance of this sim, which is still in its infancy. And I think a CPU with a high clock is still important. I mean, I've got an 8600 i5 chip, Intel, and I'm overclocking that to 5 gigahertz, and it makes a huge difference from its stock clock speed. So yeah, I think CPU power it's still very important, without a doubt.
Actually, I think for this game, it is even more important than your graphics cards. I heard because for this game, they didn't quite make it to be like multi-core, right? And
it's getting there.
They want to get there, but it's not like right now. And this is one of the problems.
Yeah, it's really frustrating, really, because I just know that this sim could run so much better. It's just that you need to sort of really spend some time with the optimizations of it, and it will get there. I mean, I think we'll get there eventually, but it's just at this stage right now, we just need to see where it's going, you know, rather than we're not there yet, kind of thing. But
okay.
Yeah.
So, and are you running your G2 on 50% super sampling, or are you using it on 100% or probably 10%? Just to make it work.
10% render scale. Honestly, it runs at 90 frames per second. I can't see anything.
Yeah. But you know you are in the airplane.
Yeah. Just feels like a fog, you know.
You're flying through a fog. Yeah, makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah, totally. But I suppose the bad news is the Reverb G2 really suffers the most in this sim. It just does.
Of course.
And a lot of that is because of Steam VR and the fact that it's been the render scale slider in Steam VR has been wrong for the G1 for about a year or two, and we haven't all realized. I've been running Steam VR at half resolution of my Reverb G1 for years, thinking it's brilliant. This is the full res, but it wasn't. But the thing is, with Windows Mixed Reality, it's straight in with that 2K per eye, 2160 by 2160 display. So suddenly you put, oh yeah, it worked in X-Plane, it worked in DCS. I'm just going to put my render scale at 100. Oh my God, I'm getting 15 frames per second. This is rubbish. So you have to be aware of that. But I mean, there are some tweaks that I've come across that really help. And I now can run the Reverb G2 at full resolution pretty much. And it's so sharp and I'm getting decent frame rate. I can go into that at some point if we got time. But
you can say it now. How you do it?
Well, there's a program that everybody needs to download called OpenXR. It's a Windows Mixed Reality development tool, and that is so imperative. Even if you're running Steam VR, if you bought it on Steam VR, you can change your runtime so that it runs in Windows Mixed Reality instead, because it runs so much better than Steam VR. It's actually quite a pig in that at the moment. I'll have loads of stutters, and I'll look that way and I'm still looking this way and I'll feel sick and it's horrible and it's like, oh, this is no. I think that's where some people are actually saying it doesn't work very well, because basically, if you use the OpenXR developer app, there actually is a resolution scale slide. I'm looking at it now, just to make sure I know what I'm talking about. And I'd recommend basically downscaling. There's a render, like in Steam VR when you can change the scale.
Yeah, right.
It's the same thing, but for Windows Mixed Reality users. This is a brand new thing. Honestly, Windows Mixed Reality, they've actually upgraded the core components that we've needed for so long in terms of actually be able to adjust the performance, and we now can change the resolution slider. If you take that back to 50%, okay, so 50% outside the sim, and then sorry, I'm going back to Skype again because I see you guys. If you take that back to 50%, and then in the sim keep that to 100%, you get a really sharp image. I mean, properly sharp. I was in a business jet the other day, and I was looking. It's so tiny text. And I thought, there's no way I can read this, but now I can really clearly, just by knocking down the OpenXR slider. It's very complicated stuff, and we might have to go back to this another time. But
you have a video about this on your channel?
I do. I explain it all on my channel. So if you want to check those videos out, that'd be great. And I'm going to update them. The more sort of tweaking I find out, because this thing, it's changing by the day. Literally, there's more performance tweaks coming out, and I think even in a week's time from now, there's going to be something amazing that we've found and thought, that gives us an extra 10 frames per second or whatever. So,
perfect. So, So definitely, all of you who are watching this and who are listening to this show, check out VR Flight Sim Guy on YouTube. You're going to find Steve's channel, and it's just perfect if you want to find the best settings for Microsoft Flight Simulator and in general, amazing content. This was a shameless plug for you, man.
Bless you. I appreciate that. I'll drink that.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Tea.
Yeah, great. So that's really cool. I'm also going to look forward, actually, to look into that game. But I have not yet spent so much time in flight sims in general. But I believe it must be amazing that you could actually learn flying from a VR game. I believe that you could really learn flying the Cessna, for example, right? Is it like this? Am I right?
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
The Royal Air Force are now using VR, and so is the US Air Force. I'm sure they're using the Reverb G2s as part of their program. Certain parts, I think it's the Navy or something. I can't remember what it is now, but there's a certain squadron that are using VR now.
Okay.
And I think the reason for that actually is just it's the perception, isn't it? Really, like. When I fly in real life, your head's outside the cockpit. You're looking around for visual references. If you're on a sort of circuit and you're coming into land, you understand how high you are, and on a flat screen, my landings are terrible when I'm trying to fly with a monitor. It's really bad because I don't really know how far I am from the ground, and it's just that you don't really have that situational awareness. But in VR, of course. That's its biggest sort of huge positive, that you can look around, you can look for other traffic. Say for DCS and combat sims, I was flying the Spitfire the other day, by the way, and I was in a World War II crazy battle with some 109s, and I was looking out and I was seeing this 109, and I wasn't looking at the instruments, I was looking at the plane and bringing the plane around to it. You can't do that on a flat screen. You just don't have that ability. So that translates hugely into the real thing. Massive, yeah, definitely.
Great. Okay. So in general, you are very happy about the Microsoft Flight Simulator, and you would say you do not need a 3090 to enjoy this.
I would actually, I wouldn't recommend a 3090 actually. In fact, I wouldn't recommend buying a card right now. I'd recommend waiting for the 3080 Ti card, which I believe isn't out yet. I don't think. I might be wrong.
It's not out yet, no.
Because this sim needs VRAM. It needs lots of memory because of all those textures. So you need lots of memory. That's the one I'm going to go for anyway. The 3090 card is amazing, of course.
It does have lots of memory, the 3090, but you need lots of dough.
It's just the cost just outweighs the performance gains.
Exactly, it doesn't make sense.
There's people still getting 30 frames per second with a 3090 card. I mean, if I bought a card that expensive, I'd want it to run perfect, and it just isn't right now. So I just don't think it's a good idea.
But anyways, it's great to hear that there are some kind of hacks, just like what you said, like about the OpenXR stuff, and I'm totally going to check this out thanks to your videos.
Yeah, no worries. Right. It's just basically just a period of just trying some things and then going back and just tweaking really. And us flight simmers, we like to tweak, we like to mess around, and it's part of the fun, I suppose, is pushing our PCs to the max, pushing what's possible in VR as well to the maximum, really.
Got it. So Steve, tell us, what are the bad things about Microsoft Flight Simulator? So you said there are some bad things that you don't like. So what is it?
Yeah.
Like you can't really use your controllers. I think that's, for me, that was kind of a downer.
I mean, some people don't really mind it, but I just think once you've used a motion controller, you can't go back really. And I don't even mean flying with a motion controller. I mean using all of the, like say in a huge sort of airliner, you've got the overhead panel, haven't you? You've got all the switches and stuff. And part of the VR experience is being there and reaching exactly where that button will be. And like, I need to switch my landing lights on. I need to press something. I need to go, the FMS is usually right down here. So you're doing this. So you're active. You're moving around the cockpit. So actually and in terms of the real life flying, you remember where things are in the real plane because you are moving to wherever it is. So, and each aircraft is completely different, of course. So a Spitfire is going to be different from a Cessna, and a Cessna is going to be different from an airline, obviously. So each aircraft has its own bespoke feeling of being there. Now, without that controller support, you're just using a mouse, and it ruins the immersion. That's totally so funny for me.
So you're sitting in that airplane with your G2 or with your Rift S on, and then you have to use the mouse.
A mouse, yeah.
No,
it's wrong.
That's so bad. That's wrong.
I just honestly, it's such a shame.
Oh, that's bad.
I mean, I don't want to be too down on it because Asobo, which are the team that put this together, actually, when they first, because quite a few of the flight sim community went to go and see VR, and can I mention a channel name? Actually, I'd like to mention Baldiode channel and Bam. I think Bambino Tech. These two guys are huge VR YouTubers, and the VR pilot as well. I think he's actually in the chat now. So these guys actually, some of them went to Microsoft Flight Simulator and to preview it, and the first thing they said is, "How's the VR? How's it going?" And they're like, "What? We're not going to put VR in this sim." Are you serious?
What? It's ridiculous.
Exactly. Release a flight sim in 2020 without VR. That's
ridiculous.
That's the worst. That's not good. It's not good at all. So I think really it's a bit of a rush job, if I'm honest. They've done a great job, but it's not finished yet. And I really do think that motion controllers is the big elephant in the room for me. There's a few other things, but I think that's the big deal here for me. They need to get that sorted out.
Got it.
Do you think eventually they'll have flight sims where you have hand tracking combined with like a physical HOTAS that is also tracked? So your hand on top of and it's all tracked. And then the other question I have too is there anybody like super crazy with it where they actually create like Cessna, like all the switches and everything, and somehow have that connected where it's like you flick a physical switch and and then if you had hand tracking with that as well, that seems like the ultimate immersion. And then go one step further, go to a VR arcade and have all the motion sensors and all that. So you're like moving around at the same time. I mean, I don't know. It probably costs like $25,000 to create.
And then go one step further and get your actual pilot's license.
Just do the real thing, guys.
I think, honestly, I mean, I'm a proper aviation geek, but I'm on the scale, like I'm probably like 2 or 3 out of 10. Like, because there's some guys that have got their own basement or whatever they've got with a full like airliner cockpit. And I guess once you've got yourself centered, everything that you will touch will be exactly where it is in the real thing, so long as the scaling's correct. But there is Aerofly FS2 that has not really hand tracking as such, but you see your hand and you can actually grab the controller with it and use the stick, and you can flick switches. The Rift S controller works really well with this. In fact, even the Reverb controllers do. And you can like brush your hand over the switches, and and you get a little
that's
haptic
great
feedback. And that's a really old sim now, and it's doing things far better, above its time in some ways, really. And that's where I think this is what I mean about other sims. They still have a firm place for as Flight Sim is for VR. It's not, Microsoft Flight Simulator is fantastic, and the immersion, the feeling of being there is better. But then it falls down quickly when you think about how VR has been implemented in it, and there's ways to go with it at the moment anyway.
Right. Actually, for this kind of idea where like your hands are tracked in virtual reality and then you can flick the switches, I heard something like this a year ago, or probably is it already 2 years ago, when there was this Leap Motion was still a big thing?
Yeah,
there was a game where you could actually flip the switches for a flight sim.
Funny enough, this has been around for a lot longer than people realise.
Okay,
yeah, like there was a program, and I can't remember the name of it now, that used to be a thing you'd buy, and actually it would interject VR into Sims that didn't have VR support. What was it called? Anyone in the chat could remember the name of it? Oh, how annoying. And that had Leap Motion technology.
Okay.
Now, I mean, it wasn't actually, you'd still need a controller for it, but you could then flip the switches and you could like pinch your fingers together, then turn the dials. And that's just so cool. I
think that's where we're going. It should be. It should be a reality. I mean, like now the Quest 2 already has like great hand tracking. It's just the next step to really use it, right? So Tony, I would like to ask you: are you into flight sims, or have you tried one, or would you become one, or is your patience just like my patience? Okay, it has to go now. It has to work now.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, the thing is, there's so many games that are constantly coming that
fly inside.
For me personally, I really like Fallout 4 VR, and I would just spend 4 months playing Fallout 4 VR. But I can't do that because there's just so many games that are constantly coming out. So it's like, these games that absorb your entire life, like a No Man's Sky or Microsoft Flight, where you're going to really get into it. You're going to play it every day. You're going to play hours every day. I actually deliberately avoid these games just because I know that I can't invest that kind of time in it. I've never played Elite Dangerous. I've never played it because I just think I'm not going to invest like 4.5 hours just to learn how to play it when I just don't have time, man. So I stick with, but the flip side of that is you never get super deep with a game either. And so there's two sides of the coin, and people that get super deep into a game where they're just dedicating all this time to a game, they see so many little subtle things that you'd never see on the surface when you're just like skimming it. And so, there's two different ways to play games, kind of.
Totally agreed. And yeah, I'm the same. I don't simply have the time to spend like 10 hours just to understand the game and to be able to play the game. But I'm sure once you are there, it must be amazing, right? Some deeper games, they will need this kind of time. Yeah, just like Elite Dangerous, exactly. You just need the time to really grasp it. But then,
Steve, just a quick question. For a total noob, like somebody like me, never screwed with any flight simulator ever, do you think if I did get Microsoft Flight Simulator and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, how many days, how many hours do you think I would need to spend just to get up to speed barely?
Probably about 3 years. I think, to be honest, you're going to need some extra help, really, in terms of sort of setting it up. And you're going to be at a disadvantage because not only have you never flown or done flight sims, so you've got that learning curve of learning to fly. You've also got the massive learning curve of actually getting it all set up. So I actually wouldn't recommend Microsoft Flight Simulator, actually. And I'm surprised I'm saying this, really.
So what would you recommend?
Aerofly FS2, definitely. Yeah, it's a fantastic sim. It's really easy. You can get up within a few minutes. And suddenly, the immersion's good enough. And of course, the performance is so good that, even a 1070 card or even, lower spec PCs can handle it really well. You'll be in the cockpit, and maybe once you've tried that, and it's on Steam, it's often on sale for about £25 or something. Once you spend a bit of time with it, then you'll know whether you want to continue with it, if you want to commit to it. And I think at that point, it would be a good idea to maybe. And then, I just think at the moment, with the way Microsoft Flight Simulator hasn't even been released that long, I just think they're still finding their feet with it, and it's just not ready for people who are, new to the genre. That's tough. That's bad me saying that, really. But I just feel, honestly, Aerofly FS2 is the better sim for people who are starting out, because you need to have that thirst to enjoy it, and your first impressions of any game, they stay, don't they? And if you're going to load it up and have a horrible time, you're not going to go back to it, and you'll have this stigma attached to it, whatever, So I think, yeah.
Okay. Good. So probably start with this first, Tony. Aerofly. So we have
someone in the comments.
Exactly.
Sorry,
I just want to get to this question. I think Jose de Gueva, right? Could you ask Steve if he doesn't feel that the planes are off scale, too tiny? For example, the Cessna 152. Is it the question that you want to answer?
It's a very good question, actually. Yes, I actually feel that some of the aircraft are really small, actually, and that's one thing I noticed. The 152 is bizarrely small, so some of the scaling is a bit wrong, and I think that's not helping the resolution because some of the dials are way smaller than they are in the real thing. Some of the third-party planes, like Carinado, the Ovation, that's really nice. That's perfect. And the 172, actually, I think that's probably about right. But it's not like I fly it every day, so I can't really say for certain. But there's definitely a bit of an issue with some of the scaling and some of the aircraft. Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting to know. Strange. All right, cool. We've spent the first 50 minutes on Microsoft Flight Simulator.
No.
Yes, we have. Yes, unbelievable.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. It's a topic that lots of people find interesting, and I think especially for virtual reality, that's just the perfect use case for VR, right? To sit in that thing and to fly. That's cool. Great. Is there any last word that you have for Microsoft Flight Simulator, dear Steve?
Just to say, someone in the comment, a few people are saying VTOL VR. That's another great sim, guys. Honestly, in fact, I'd recommend that, Tony, over Aerofly FS2 because you'd love that because it's just fun. The emphasis is on having a laugh and fun and just the feeling of flight. That's the important thing. And the feeling of flight in Microsoft Flight Simulator, just to go back to that to wrap this up, it is amazing. I mean, at the end of the day, Microsoft Flight Simulator, where it's going, excites me like no other sim. There is some work to do, but honestly, if you want the most ultimate experience of flying a general aviation aircraft and just experiencing what it's like to fly through different weather, the atmosphere, do a world tour. I mean, in these COVID times we're living in, it's a great way to travel. And you look down and you see cities like I was flying around Strasbourg the other day. And it's a photogrammic city, so it's all 3D. So it's exactly how it should look. And it's like that for not with photogrammetry, but the detail is there for the entire world. What they're doing, it's never been done before. It's groundbreaking, and anything groundbreaking and pushing the boundaries is going to have teething problems. And that's exactly what this is. But when it's all said and done, it's absolutely friggin' awesome. It's break.